Hello and welcome back. As we have discussed, we are going to start this series from absolute scratch. First, we need to understand why Spring Framework, what problem Spring Framework is trying to solve. Whenever you try to learn about the Spring Framework, you will often hear the term Spring Framework is there to decouple the dependencies between the classes, decouple the dependencies between the components of an application. Also, you will hear about dependency injection, inversion of control. We need to understand what exactly tight coupling, loose coupling, and what problem Spring is trying to solve. So here I'll be developing one simple Java project, core Java project, and we'll try to understand the purpose of Spring Framework. We'll understand what problem Spring Framework is trying to solve without using the Spring Framework with the help of normal Java project, so that you can understand what is the context, why Spring Framework, people are behind the Spring Boot. We need to understand. If why is clear, what exactly how to work with the Spring Framework will not be a matter of concern. So let's try to understand directly by writing some code here. I would like to open the IDE. I'm using Eclipse IDE. You can use any IDE of your own choice, which will not create any problem here. Fine. Suppose I have two classes here. Let me write down some classes here. As you can see, I have written two classes here. We have alpha class, we have beta class. Inside the alpha class, I have a alpha method. Assume some important business logic is there. What logic? It's not a matter of concern. Again, I would like to repeat here, core Java is the requirement to understand the Spring Framework. Without core Java, you cannot understand. I'm keeping in mind those who are watching me, they know core Java, they are comfortable with Java. Fine. Alpha class, I have one method alpha and some important business logic is present here. We have beta and I'm writing some logic here. Some logic. Between the logic, there is a need that whatever code which is being written here, whatever important business logic code which we have already written here, I want to reuse here inside the beta method. That means I want to use that. I want that to work for me here. What is the big deal in that? We just have to invoke this method. That means we just have to create the object of alpha. We can invoke that method by achieving something called as composition. I'll create the object of alpha, alpha type A equals to new alpha, and I can just give a call. Very usual approach, right? I wanted to use whatever code which we have written there here in my beta method. So I'll say a dot alpha, a dot alpha. I can call it. That means whatever code we have written here, I can use it here. Now, if you do so in this composition, this method we also call it as composition, creating the object of the class and calling the method, whatever method functionality or the behavior you want to use, that method you have to invoke by creating the object. If you do this, then alpha and beta class will be tightly coupled with each other. They are tightly bonded with each other. That means something goes wrong in the alpha class, it will have impact on the beta class also. Example, someone has deleted, not just deleted, something went wrong there. You can see something has gone wrong in the alpha class. It has an impact in the beta class. Beta class got affected and we are getting one error in the beta class. See, we are getting one compile time error. Eclipse, IntelliJ IDEA, all these IDs has the auto compilers, and the moment you can see compile time error, that means beta class also got affected. So composition is not a way to invoke the method. What can we make it static and call? There also you are going to use alpha name, right? Class name you'll use it alpha dot alpha method. Even if you make it static, fine. So now they are tightly coupled with each other. Do we have any alternative for this? We can do one more thing here. What we can do is we can say extends alpha. The moment I say extends alpha, whatever methods we have inside the alpha class, that will get inherited inside the beta also. So inside the beta, we do have this method, we do have this business logic. So wherever I need, without creating the instance, I can directly call the method, because alpha method is also part of beta class, if you know the concept of inheritance in Java. So I can call it, no problem. But again, still this class is tightly coupled with alpha because you have extended alpha. Suppose I'll not consider, I'll delete this class. You can see here, I'm getting one error here. That means even if you go with extends with the concept of inheritance, you don't want to go with composition. You want to achieve that. You want to use the service of other classes by going with inheritance. That is also not recommended. Even if you do so, your classes will get tightly bonded with each other. Fine. Now alpha and beta class are tightly coupled, tightly bonded with each other. Now, whatever logic we have inside the alpha class, I want to use that service. I want to use that business logic inside my beta class, in one more class. It could be alpha, beta, any class, doesn't matter. Inside this class, without taking the name of alpha. I will not even take the alpha name. I will not say extends alpha. I will not even go for the object creation composition. No inheritance, no composition. I will just be in a position to invoke this method without any reference of alpha in my beta class. That means without taking a name of alpha inside my beta class. That means one class should be in a position to use the services of another class without having any name of that class. I will not use the name, no static methods also. The class name only I will not use. I will not create the object directly inside my beta class. I will not say extends. I will not even use the name of alpha. No extends, no composition. I'll not even use a name. Still, I should be in a position to call whatever services we have inside the alpha class, whatever behavior we have inside my alpha class. Then, if I could able to achieve that, then I can say alpha class and beta class. These two classes are loosely bounded. They are not tightly coupled. That means we could able to achieve loose coupling. But how can we do that? Either we have to go with inheritance or we may have to go with composition. How can we make two classes loosely coupled with each other? That is what we need to understand here. For a moment, whatever code I have written here, I would like to comment. Now, always remember, I would like to develop one basic project here. Fine. Before that, whenever you are going to write a services, a business logic, which is getting used by other classes, then that service class is there. No, don't try direct implementation. As per the strategy design pattern, it says that whenever you want to write any business logic, a class where the actual services are written, which will be used by another classes, that class don't write the direct implementation. Always code to interface. Write an interface, define what you want to do, and then implement in the class. This class must be coded to the interface. Interface, you know very well, it's one of the way to achieve the abstraction. And if a class is implementing an interface, then that class, if any need arises, can implement any other interface also, can extend any other class also. So if a class is implementing an interface, it will not affect that class in any way. So a business logic, whenever you want to write, that means such a logic where this logic might be used in some other classes. Someone might call this method, then don't directly write this class, always code to interface. What do we mean by that? We will practically also understand. Fine. So let me just develop one simple project here. I would like to go and create one package here called as, maybe the package name, I'm going to give it as services. Whatever package name you want, you can give. Here, I would like to create one class. Name of the class, maybe I'll give it as whatever name. It could be anything. Maybe let's give the YouTube channel name, which is T-shaped skills. Name of the class it is on my YouTube name. Okay. I have created it. Great. Now, inside the class, I'll be writing one method here. Maybe the method name is very simple. Understand? I'll say here public, and I'll say here boolean, by the course, and I would like to accept here double type of amount, and again, now within this, for now I would like to return true, because we have to return any boolean value. Great. Now guys, inside this method, I want to invoke methods of different classes. That means I'll have 2, 3, 4 more classes, and whatever methods I have written inside those classes, I want to invoke. That means the logic, the behavior which is being written in another classes, I want to use that logic inside this method. However, inside this entire T-shaped skill class, I'll not be using the reference or name of any of those classes. Fine. Now let me define those business classes whose services will be used inside this particular class called as T-shaped skills. Now those are my business logic. Those are my service or behaviors which will be used in my T-shaped skills. That means those classes I should not be writing directly. I should always code to interface. I'll create one interface here. You will get the complete picture if you are with me till the end and if you know core Java. I would like to just code here. I will create one interface name, whatever you want. Maybe I'll give it as iCourses or maybe iCourse. Anything is fine. Within this, I'll specify the requirement. Maybe I'll specify the requirement as return type as Boolean type of get the course. Whatever name of the method you want, you can give it. So maybe I would like to accept here a double type of amount or the cost or whatever you want, you can give here. Maybe the price, anything is fine. That should not be a problem. All right, price, great. Now I will write 3 classes which are implementing these interfaces. The 3 classes are, let me just create here. Class number 1, maybe I'll give the name of the class as Java class, and it is going to implement one interface called as iCourse. All right. I would like to just import this. Great. Similar to this, I would like to create 2 more classes. Let me just create 2 more classes quickly. Maybe the name of the class, I would like to give it as not Java. I would like to give it as Spring Boot. All right. And maybe one more class I would like to use here. Maybe 2 classes are sufficient for now. It's more than sufficient. We have Spring Boot and we have a Java course. Inside this, whatever business logic you want, you can write. I'll write the business logic here. Very simple business logic. Maybe I'll say here system.out.println. I will say here Java course is purchased successfully and fees paid is, I would like to just add the price which we have paid here. After which I'm going to just return here true to the caller of this method. Fine. Same business logic I would like to specify in my Spring Boot class. I would like to go here and just write down. Okay. I would like to just go and write here, and I would like to say the message as Spring Boot. Spring Boot. Wonderful. Okay. I'm done with this. Great. And I would like to go here and write down this. Fine. So I have 2 classes. One is Java class, one is Spring Boot class. Fine. Now inside the T-shaped skills, whatever logic which is written inside my Java class, I want to invoke, I want to use. Whatever logic which is written inside the Spring Boot, this business logic, I want to use in my T-shaped skills class. Options are there. As we have discussed, composition, I can just create the object of Java type j equals to new Java, and I can just say here Java dot, I can just invoke the method get the course, and whatever price we do have here, this entire amount or price, whatever is the variable name, I can just pass here. It will return Boolean value, true or false. If you want, you can collect it, or directly you can return. I'll say here return whatever this method will return me, a Boolean data, I will return to the caller of this method. That's about the core Java. Now, again, you are making T-shaped skills and Java class. They both are getting tightly coupled with each other. It's a tight coupling, tightly bonding. I want to achieve loose coupling. That means I want to invoke the method which is there inside my Java class, inside my Spring Boot class, without taking the name of Spring Boot, without taking a name of Java. I'll not be creating the object inside the T-shapes class. I'll not be using the extends keyword, but still I should be in a position to invoke. Now the question is, those 2 service classes, business classes, Java and Spring Boot, have you written direct implementation? Or have you coded to interface? We have coded to interface. We have followed the strategy design pattern. Great. So now what I'm going to do here is, I'll go here and create the reference of private. I'll say here iCourse type course. Fine. And I would like to write one setter. Maybe let me just go and generate one setter here. I would like to say here generate the getters and setters. I want to just generate the only setters. I would like to select it. I'm getting one setter also. Great. Now encapsulation, whatever oops concepts are there, I am keeping in mind that all of you are comfortable with it. Now you will also see here real use of polymorphism. As per the runtime polymorphism, using the parent type reference, using the interface type reference, can we invoke the implementing methods, overridden methods of a child class? The answer is yes. The real use of polymorphism also you're able to see here. If you already know what is polymorphism, suppose if you don't know what is interface, what is polymorphism, what are the oops concept, then you can never understand what is Spring framework. Fine. That is the reason I have told core Java is the prerequisites before getting into the Spring framework. But anyway, I'm going to use here course dot. I've not told any class name. I've just told course dot. Get the course. I'm going to pass the amount which we are receiving here. Whatever that method will return me, that method directly I'm going to return to the caller of this method. Fine. Very straightforward it is. And of course, this get the course is available in Java class also. It is available in the Spring Boot class also. For both of them, the parent happens to be the course, which is iCourse. They have been implemented by coding to interface, no direct implementation. Java is also implementing iCourse. Spring Boot is also implementing iCourse. So their parent is iCourse. So using that parent type reference, I can definitely invoke the methods which are there inside those classes. Now look at the T-shaped skills entire class. Anywhere did I use the Java name or Spring Boot name? Anywhere. Java, Spring Boot, nowhere. Fine. That means T-shaped skills now able to use the services which are there inside the Java, inside the Spring Boot without having to take their names here. Loose coupling. But wait, it's just an interface reference, right? It's the part 2 of the story is still pending. We will discuss on this. But now to start with, I hope you are able to understand this much. Let me go back to the main method here. So in the main method class, I'll go here. Of course, this is not needed. I would like to just go here, get this. Fine. Now, please understand, I would like to create the object of T-shaped skills class. The class which is using the services of other class. Maybe I'll say here T equals to new T-shaped skills. New T-shaped skills. It is done. Great. I would like to import that, after which I will just invoke the method T dot by the course. I'll just put some amount here, a random amount. That's fine. And after which it will give me any Boolean type of return type. I would like to collect it. Boolean type of, maybe I'll say here status. And now I will just check if in case, if the status is true, I would like to say here maybe success, one success message. Else I'll say here, else I will say system.out.println, fail to get the course, Great. Now, what I'm going to do is I will say T dot set course, iCourse. Now here I'm going to pass the object called as Java. Java object I'm passing here by using set. So that means Java object. Either you can pass directly Java object, or you can just create the Java type J equals to new Java. A new Java object you can create, and you can just pass the reference. Both of them are same. And you can just pass J here. Both of them are same. So directly I'm passing the Java object in the set course. Now let me open the T-shaped skills setter method. Inside the setter, what am I getting here? Java object. That means it is equivalent to iCourse type course equals to new Java. If you know the polymorphism, it is equivalent to this, because from the main method, I am passing Java object here to the T dot set course, and I'm passing Java object. What am I receiving here? I'm receiving Java object here, right? So it is equivalent to whatever code you could able to see here. And as per the polymorphism, this is allowed. Now, whatever is there here, that object address you're passing here. That means inside the course, which object address we have? Java object address. Now, if I say course dot get the course, that means get the course method of Java class will be invoked. Whatever method we have here inside the Java class, that will be invoked. Why? Because what am I receiving here? Java object. If you pass their Spring Boot, of course, I will just take this. I'll say T dot set, and I'm going to pass the Spring Boot object. Great. And of course, I would like to comment this for now. You can see now I'm passing the Spring Boot object. So what is receiving here? I'm receiving Spring Boot object here. It is equivalent to iCourse type course equals to new Spring Boot class. That means inside this address of Spring Boot object is present. And if you say course dot get the course method of Spring Boot will be executed. Now, please see. Actually, in my T-shaped skills class, I am using the services or business logic of whatever is being written inside the Java class, whatever is being written inside the Spring Boot class. That means I want to use the services. But Am I creating the object of Java or Spring Boot? No. I'm inverting the entire control of object creation to my main method class. I'm inverting the entire control of object creation to the main method class. Now main method class is creating the object of Java, is creating the object of Spring Boot. Now two terms you have to understand. One is target class, one is dependent object, or you can say target object or dependent object. What do we mean by target object? Such a object who is using services of other class. From the main method perspective, from the main method, we have three more classes, right? T-shaped skills class, Java class, and Spring Boot class. Out of these three classes we have, one class is a target class, two classes are dependent object, or target object, dependent object. What do you mean by that? Target object or target class is such a class where services of other classes are being used. That means that is a T-shaped only. Inside the T-shaped class only, are you not using the services methods which is coded in other classes? The answer is yes. Making sense? That means now from this perspective, my T-shaped skill is there. No, that is only called as target class. That is my target. Dependent object whose classes services are being used, that is called as dependent object. That means inside the T-shaped, whose classes services are being used here? Get the course is present inside which object, which class? Java class, Spring Boot class. That means Spring Boot and Java class are the dependent object. Such objects whose services will be used inside my target class. Inside the T-shaped skills class, I am going to use methods services of the Java class, of the Spring Boot class. That means the Spring Boot and Java class are the dependent object, and T-shaped skills is the target object. Inside the T-shaped skills, I am using the methods which are coded inside my Spring Boot class, the methods which are coded inside my Java class. Now, injecting dependent object into the target class is called as dependency injection. Injecting dependent object, such a object whose services are getting used inside this target class, inside the T-shaped skills, is called as dependency injection. I'm injecting this object because Spring Boot objects, this method which is present inside the Spring Boot class, that is getting used. That is my dependent object. So injecting this dependent object into my target class is called as dependency injection. Now injecting the dependent object into my target class using setter is called as setter injection. Making sense? Now if I just of course have to run this application, if I have to run as the Java application, you will see here I'm getting which course. You can see Spring Boot course is purchased on your console. And of course if I inject the Java, of course it will not be Java course will be purchased. That is the output which will be getting it. I would like to run this. If I just have to run this, you can see we are getting Java course purchased. Again, we might have some error here. Let me import the Java class. And again, I would like to run this. You can notice we are getting Java course purchased. Fine. Injecting the dependent object, such an object whose methods are getting used inside the T-shape. Now, if you do it through the setter, it is setter injection. If you do it through the constructor, maybe I'll say a Spring Boot constructor. That means I'm injecting the dependent object into my target class with the help of constructor is called as constructor injection. Of course, we do not have any constructor for now. I would like to just generate one constructor. I'll see here references, sources. I would like to go here constructor using the fields. I would like to go here and generate, and we do have a constructor here. And I would like to have one more 0 parameters constructor just in case if I have to use the setter injection. So I should be having this. Okay. Now constructor is also available. I'm performing the injection through the constructor. Of course, Spring Boot will be executed right now, which you can see here. If I have to run this Spring Boot course. Now please look at inside the T-shaped skills, entire class, you can notice anywhere did I use the name Java Spring Boot? No. That means T-shaped skills class, Java class and Spring Boot class, they are loosely coupled with each other. They are not tightly coupled. That means we could able to achieve loose coupling here. That is the purpose of entire Spring framework. Right now, in my main method class, I'm creating the object of target class. I'm creating the object of dependent object. That object also I am only creating. Target object I myself developer is creating. Dependency injection, injecting the dependent object into my target class. I myself developer is performing the main method. I no want to do this also. I want all the classes objects to be created by Spring framework. Service classes, target classes, dependent object, and also dependency injection also to be performed by Spring framework itself. That means whatever code I have written here in my main method class, I want this also to be taken care by Spring framework. That means you are totally achieving loose coupling. Right now, at least from the main method and T-shaped skills, these two classes are tightly coupled, right? Because manually I'm creating the object of T-shaped skills here. Now, if something goes wrong in the T-shaped skills, main method class will get affected. So main method class and T-shaped class are still tightly coupled. T-shaped class, Java class, Spring Boot class, they are loosely coupled. But T-shaped class and main method class is tightly coupled. I don't want this also. My entire application, I want it to become a loosely coupled. I hope you are able to understand here. That means entire control of object creation, dependency injection, I am inverting to my Spring. Spring framework has to take care of it. And how Spring framework will take care of it? We should understand how to talk to Spring framework. That means about the configuration. You can communicate to Spring framework whatever task you want, Spring framework will do it for you. And there is a way you can communicate to Spring framework. That means you can configure Spring framework through the XML approach. XML plus annotation approach and annotation plus Spring Boot approach. First, initial 2 to 3 examples, few examples, I will not touch Spring Boot. We'll understand without boot. Then we will create the Spring Boot and we'll understand. There is no Spring Boot is not a different framework. Spring Boot is Spring framework plus some extra features, auto configurations. Whatever little difficulty is there to talk to Spring framework, to communicate with Spring framework, that little difficulty is not there in the Spring Boot. So English words, I don't want to tell what is the difference between Spring and Spring Boot. I want to practically show what is the difference between Spring framework and Spring Boot. And once we reach to the doorstep of Spring Boot, all the modules in this entire series, we are going to understand using the Spring Boot itself. I hope you could able to understand this. Any ambiguity, you can rewatch the entire, video any number of times. You can practice. It will make more sense to you. Please do like the video. Please do comment and support and also share with your peers and colleagues if you feel I deserve and you could able to understand. You can also follow me on my LinkedIn. You can search Hyder Abbas. And also if you want, you can connect me on my Instagram. Also the ID you can see on your screen. Thank you so much for joining me in this long video. I hope you have enjoyed. We'll meet again in the next video.